I didn't really think I would have a hard time finding a job. I was unemployed for the first 6 months after graduating from college, okay? Doing YouTube helped me get my current job.
Hey, when lemonade, I was afraid. Once a nigga graduate, would I be okay?
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, welcome. As you can see from the title, today's video is going to be the second episode in my Coping After College series. In the first episode, if you missed it, we talked about losing friends and even just maintaining friendships after college. And today, we will be talking about dealing with unemployment, but also finding a job. I struggled a lot post-grad, which is why it is my hope that you won't have to go through the same thing, whether you did go to college, whether you're just adulting and you didn't go to college but you're still struggling. Like, I'm here for you too. Disclaimer, I do realize that when I graduated it was in 2018, aka the Rona wasn't born yet. Yeah, I had a hard time finding a job after college, but I didn't have a whole pandemic as another factor in this job search. So if you are currently facing unemployment because of the pandemic, like, shout out to you for just still doing your best to show up every single day and find something for you. I still think some of these tips and pointers can be relatable for any situation. At least I hope so. So yes, we're gonna talk about the nitty-gritty, shitty part of being unemployed, but we're also gonna talk about how we can get out of there. So without further ado, let's get started. Growing up, I always noticed that the adults around me were always miserable. Like, leaving work and coming home, they were tired, they were exhausted, they were irritated, and I think seeing how unhappy they were really showed me that I don't want to live that way. Of course, I 100% respect the hustle. They were just doing what they could to pay the bills and pay everything on time and keep a roof over their heads. I just knew that if I had the opportunity to change that so I wouldn't be that miserable, I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do whatever it takes to make sure that I am happy. I kept that in my mind and I carried that with me throughout school. My favorite classes in high school were honors chem. I loved my math, like math and science were my jam. It's funny because I completely deviated from that when I was in college, but either way, I still loved everything that I learned in high school. I was definitely such a little nerd, but we love to see a young black and educated woman, okay?
That's right.
I went to Assumption College, which is in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's actually called Assumption University now, so shout out to my fellow Greyhounds. When I started college, I was still pursuing the science-y math area until I actually had those classes, and I was miserable there. Yeah, it was not it. It was never gonna be it. Just no. As soon as I realized that it just was not the fit for me, I marched my little booty down to the Career Development and Internship Center, and I was able to just explore my options for different majors, just look at the different classes that would be offered for the following semester, just so I had something new to look forward to. So long story short, I studied English, writing, and mass communications. That was my major, and my minor was in psychology. So I did a lot of writing, public speaking, video production. I was an anchor for my school's TV station. I just loved what I studied so much. With my psychology minor, I was just learning how the brain works. I was learning how to understand myself and how to understand other people. It was just, I loved it. I loved what I studied. All of this is important for you to know because I need you to understand how much of a planner I was, especially for my education, just to make sure that I was doing what was best for me. But also, I was so passionate about what I studied that I didn't really think I would have a hard time finding a job. I kind of just thought that if my passion was all the way up here, finding a job would take like half the effort because I'm just already like determined and motivated. Well, yeah, no. I was unemployed for the first 6 months after graduating from college, okay? For the first like 1 to 2, maybe 3 months, I was like, you know what? This is fine. Everything is fine.
I'm fine.
All is well. I'm just taking a little break after college. Well then, yeah. 3 months turned into 6, and Sally Mae was calling my line. It was just a scary time. It did some damage to the self-confidence. The ego was definitely bruised, but that was my experience, and that's just the tea. What I also need to tell you is that your girl started applying for jobs like at the end of my first semester of senior year. Just to give you a visual, that's like right before like Christmas vacation time. I thought I was already ahead of the curve. I sent out all these applications and I just didn't get that call back. It's funny because when I started applying for jobs, I was really looking for a lot of things that were more in my field. And then obviously towards the end of my journey, I was like, girl, you can't be this picky anymore. Like, you gotta find something. So best believe those student loans were deferred for quite some time. But thankfully, right at the end of my 6-month mark, I finally got my first job out of college. If you saw one of my videos from 2 years ago, I'm gonna put it up here. You will see that I quit my first job out of college. When I first got started, it was great. I was like, ooh, this is insurance. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but
I know I'm getting money, so hey.
For my first full month, I was still in training, so everything was great. I thought it was so much fun. After the month of training, when I was like, ooh, this is great. Like, I can't wait to be out on the floor and actually talk to real customers. Well, I got on the floor and immediately I kind of knew that I didn't like it. Like, it was a call center, so I was responsible for taking multiple calls, dozens of calls per day. If you're in a call center right now, like, I'm not saying this to dampen your current experience. For me, I just didn't like it. Like, no, if you can do it and you have the mental strength and capacity to deal with that many phone calls per day, like, bless. It just wasn't for me. But first, I started off on a high, and I was always really good with selling my policies, connecting with my customers. But after some time, I just got tired. I got tired of being unavailable, which means like that's when you're able to receive more calls, and I just didn't like it. I really thought that I was gonna be able to last like at least a whole year, but by the time month 4 came and I was just already drained, I was like, 6 months has gotta be it. My anxiety totally just skyrocketed when I was at this job. I was really trying to challenge myself, but the longer I stayed there, the more unhappy I became. And my customers were nice, like I had good conversations with them. The task of having to take multiple calls, but also knowing that your managers can see when you're on the phones and when you're not, and they'll literally send you messages like, hey, can you like hop on and take a call right now? And I don't know, I just felt the pressure of being like micromanaged. Of course, I understand that when you're in a call center, in order to make money, you need to sell insurance. And in order to sell insurance, you need to take a lot of calls. I just killed a bug with bug spray and but yeah, so I completely understand why they have that system in place to like watch and see who's on the phones, who's slacking, who's been away from desk for too long. I just felt so anxious at work knowing what was expected of me, and just also being attentive to what I felt I could handle or couldn't handle. I also just started showing up to work like later and later, and I really tried my best to not do that, but I was just dreading having to sit down and have these people call my line. I stayed as long as I could. So around month 5, I ended up putting in my 2 weeks. I wrote the best resignation letter ever, and while I didn't have the best offboarding experience, whatever, I got out when I could, and I'm glad that I did. I am forever grateful for that experience because 1, I was able to learn what I don't like, but 2, I also met some of the best people ever. Like, everyone there was so friendly. So even when I was miserable being on the phone, at least I knew when I got off the phone, I could talk with my cool coworkers. So if any of you are watching this from Amika, shout out to you. You know who you is, who you be. Thank you for being the positive part of that experience because I had to go. I will let you know that when I quit, I didn't have anything lined up, and I don't recommend that to anyone. However, I was stacking my bread. So yes, while I wouldn't recommend quitting without having your next job lined up, if you're gonna do it smart. Save some money so you have that nice umbrella that can hold you over for like a little bitty bit amount of time. But all you need to know is I was unemployed again. And fast forward to now, I have thankfully been with the same company for over a year, and clearly I am much happier now in this place. Like, I'm finally able to get that stability that I want, and I am just so happy to finally like what I'm doing for work. I get to carry out what I studied in school, and that is just amazing. The fact that I am here at a good job that is the best fit for me just feels like such an accomplishment. I think it's time to discuss the lessons and takeaways. Number 1, find out if you want a career or a job. Do you know the difference? Because to me, a career is more of a commitment, I would say. A commitment to one field, something you probably need like a specific localized education for, and something you see yourself staying at for the long term. Like, not just a year. This is like your future. Now, it's totally okay if you end up beginning this career and you're like,
ooh, I don't think I like it here.
And vice versa. If you're in a job that you thought was just like a low-key thing and now you're like, oh no, I actually want to do this. Both of those are fine. But if you're just starting out in the job hunt, figure out if you want a job or a career. What are the things that you prioritize in your life? For me, I love the stability of a good, solid job schedule. In retail, I was scheduled at random times from Saturday through Sunday, so it was very difficult for me to plan social outings, hangouts, me time, free time because of work. And I knew that I think I needed a Monday through Friday. Throughout college, I thought that I was going to end up in broadcast journalism, but by the time senior year came, I loved being an on-air anchor, but I just realized I wanted to talk about things that I wanted to talk about. I didn't want it to be revolved around celebrity gossip or entertainment. I wanted to be able to pick and choose what I wanted to do, and I didn't think I could get that if I actually like pursued that career. Plus, I realized that I didn't want to move to one of those major markets that you kind of need to move to in order to pursue this type of career. So, while I wasn't sure what type of career I wanted, I just wanted to make money. And that's where the job comes in, because I knew that I'd be able to at least grow in whatever field I end up in, no matter what field I end up in. And I just wanted consistency, I wanted money. If I was able to dabble into a field that like matched what I studied in college, that was just the creme de la creme. So if you're not sure what to do with your life, committing to any career just because you think you should might not bring you the fulfillment that you want. It's definitely possible that you could fall in love with it, but this is going to be different from one person to another, just depending on your priorities. And yes, even when you're at this job, you're still able to gain new skills. Like, we're here building experience, people, so get what you can out of the experience and go. But then you also have the freedom to venture out into something else when your chapter there is up. Piggybacking off of number 1 is number 2. Figure out if you're in a privileged enough situation to either get a job that just pays the bills or a job that pays the bills and also feels fulfilling. Of course, sometimes those jobs that feel fulfilling aren't gonna pay the bills. So then you gotta regroup. Remember that experience is experience. In my personal and I guess professional opinion, as long as you stay for a minimum of 6 months to a year, whatever experience you get is going to propel you forward. Even if you don't think your current job is relevant or your past jobs were relevant, you're still able to take little skills from there and apply them in practical ways for your new job, even if it's in a completely different field. But even with that, you also need to keep in mind that you are not stuck anywhere. Of course, this is gonna differ again from individual to individual, depending on your home life, depending on maybe if you got kids, then you need to stay where the money is.
What the what? What the money reside?
And depending on what your bills are, how many you have, all of these factors are going to play a role. So you just need to assess your own individual situation and make the best decision for you. But yeah, just know you are not stuck anywhere, and that's on period. Number 3, if you don't have a job, your full-time job better be applying for jobs. During each of my moments of unemployment, I was on Indeed, I was on snagajob.com, and I was on LinkedIn to find my job. Of course, in the beginning, it was kind of like a little vacation. I was like, ooh, this is a staycation for me. I'm gonna enjoy this. But then I just got tired and bored of not having an income flowing in. Like, I think when you're unemployed, you kind of go through moments of like feeling bad for yourself. You gotta wake yourself up because you can only stay down and like woe is me for a certain amount of time, because at one point you just need to get tired and get bored of just doing nothing, and you have to want more for yourself. I probably wouldn't be this passionate about this topic if I didn't go through this. I will never talk about anything that I've never experienced myself. I know that when I was unemployed, a little part of me was like, oh, you just keep applying for jobs and no one's calling you. This is sad. I'm just gonna sit here and be miserable at home. But at one point I realized that I have everything that I need to move forward, and now I'm just choosing to be complacent. You have to want more for yourself, and I think at one point I was just like, girl, you need to do something. So yeah, I realized that I needed to hustle, and I wasn't gonna get interviews if I didn't apply for jobs. So yeah, your girl applied for plenty of jobs, and while I didn't get many calls back, I still kept applying anyways. You gotta be resilient in this process because egos do not last long when you're unemployed. You just gotta be smart and you have to be resilient. Number 4, get out of bed. The physical act of getting out of bed, but also and especially getting out of the house is going to be a game changer for you, because just the movement of even getting ready to go out of the house definitely helps with your feeling of productivity. And it's also gonna help your mental health, just getting out of the spot that you're just stuck in. Of course, like I mentioned, being in the COVID era is going to make things difficult, but if you are able to just go to a coffee shop and like park in the parking lot, connect to their Wi-Fi. You gotta make sure that your devices are charged up. That's a little life hack that I was doing throughout quarantine. If I had like virtual therapy sessions, but I didn't wanna be home, I would take myself to a coffee shop, park pretty close in their parking lot, and just connect to their Wi-Fi. So I'm just saying you can make it happen. And also, to get out of bed, you do need to find something that'll motivate you. Find something that inspires you. Something that really helped me was just falling in love with my potential, understanding what my why was. Of course, one of my whys was, I gotta find a job because I need to pay my student loans, or I gotta find a job because I want to be able to afford the lifestyle that I desire. You just need to find something that'll inspire you to get out of bed. If you have kids, maybe you could say,
I gotta do it for my family.
Find something that'll get you out of bed, maybe even get you out of the house. Something that'll keep your hopes up. Something that'll continue to motivate you no matter what. And number 5, I think it's important to definitely find a hobby. If you're unemployed, you're not getting on-the-job training where you're able to sharpen up your brain. So it's important that you're doing that sharpening somewhere else. You have a hobby that you're able to dedicate time, effort, and energy to. Something that's stimulating your brain. Something that's still challenging you. And it doesn't need to be a hobby that's gonna turn into money. I think sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves, like, ooh, we should do this hobby because that's gonna take off and pay all the bills. Like, it's great when that happens, but if you have that in your brain, it's just gonna put way too much pressure on you where the hobby's not even gonna be enjoyable anymore. Find something that you enjoy for the simple pleasure of doing it. For me, that was YouTube. During a lot of my unemployment is when I made a lot of my videos, and I gotta tell you, doing YouTube helped me get my current job. Yes, I said it, it's true. I 100% recommend applying to jobs on LinkedIn. If you don't already have an account on LinkedIn,
make an account.
And if you have an account but it's like dormant, try your best in building that account. I noticed that I received the most emails, phone calls, and interviews from my applications on LinkedIn as opposed to on Indeed. My current job had this opening for a marketing marketing copywriter, and I applied to it on LinkedIn. And it's funny because in the job description, all they mentioned was just being able to write well and manage their social media accounts, and I was already excited for that. When I got my phone interview and I was talking with my manager, I remember him asking me if I had any experience with video, and I was taken aback by it because I wasn't expecting that at all. So the fact that he brought it up, it just felt like it was perfect because I was able to say, yeah, I do. I also have a YouTube channel, and yeah, long story short, they ended up finding my YouTube channel, and thankfully I had the type of channel that I do because it was work appropriate for them enough to like. And yeah, when I got my in-person interview, the team was asking me questions about what's one of the newest things I've learned in my video editing experience, and I was able to pull up one of my YouTube videos like, oh, see, this is what I did here, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. It was perfect. Since the job description didn't mention anything about like having video experience, a lot of the candidates who applied for that position were just really good writers. So I was able to be a great writer, show that I was a great writer, but also show that I got my experience with videos and producing videos and editing videos, and being able to have a hobby is what helped me not feel depressed. Being able to work on videos and get dressed and get cute for a video is what helped me slip out of that depression that I was facing being unemployed, because it happens. I'm just really happy that although I didn't have any motive on it helping me get a job, my hobby helped me get my job. So it's a win-win. All in all, guys, those are my 5 tips on dealing with unemployment, but also finding a job. My number one hope is that you just know that you're not alone. I am uploading in between these episodes just so it's not as heavy or dense and we can still have fun. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with a friend or two. Tell them I sent you. Shoot. And I will talk to you in my next video. Bye, guys.